Samantha here. This is my second year as head coach, but sixth in coaching, so in the grand scheme of things, kind of young to this career. But I've also had the opportunity of coaching at all divisions, D3, D1, and now Division 2. So kind of putting everything together and kind of making it my own. Hopefully some information that I'll give you can help make your game your own. So I'm talking about the redefend and the transition. This is my favorite part of the game. I know in high school, it was my job to get the ball from the goalie, run down the field, drop it off to the really tall person on the crease, shoot, score, awesome. I hate that though. Now that I'm not doing it. It's a very important part of the game that I think that a lot of schools kind of ixnay, and that makes the game kind of incomplete. So hopefully from here we can kind of get some good ideas and how to utilize the players that you have with the redefend and the transition. Now my notes are all messed up. Alright, so first we're going to talk about the redefend. So there's two main styles of the redefend. You can have a zone or man-to-man. So you have to kind of determine who you have on your team. When you're with a man-to-man, usually your team's a lot faster and really understands the tight defense. If your team has a higher IQ, I would suggest doing a zone. You need good communication and understanding doubles and angles. What we do for our team is we go in and out of both. And that might be an option for you, or it might not. Might just want to stick to man-to-man or just zone. But for a team like ours, when we go in and out, so everyone that's on the same page, we kind of have a rule of thumb. Whenever there's a high turnover, a wide shot, or an offensive foul, then we're man-to-man, because that ball can end up anywhere. We're not ready to go into the zone. If it's a goalie save or a goalie ball, that's when we know that we're going into the zone. So my players know, okay, ball's getting turned over in this situation, we're in a man-to-man. I shot right at the goalie stick, we're in the zone. So that way everyone's kind of on the same page, because the second that a player or two is doing something else, that's when something will work. So talking about the man-to-man redefend first is main goal is not allowing the ball to see the next pass or the option. And we do that with having, our sticks up and staying goal side. What do I mean when I say staying goal side?
Defender between goal.
Yeah, the goal that we're defending, okay? Even my college girls kind of get mixed up with this, okay? And it takes a lot of discipline. So we are constantly reminding them, stay goal side, because in their heads, why am I just gonna let her get that pass? I wanna try to get that ball. But then you end up playing monkey in the middle, the ball gets passed, and you're screwed. So we really like to press that. Everyone is responsible for so much, just like low defense if you're playing man-to-man. Okay, you have one girl, but it doesn't mean you can't slide to help. You don't want to get too toned in and narrow-minded. And then never slide high to low. Who says this to their team? Okay, that's when you really get caught monkey in the middle. Okay, so it's once again going back to that discipline. If the ball is below you, yeah, you always want to go to the ball, but the ball's just going to be thrown over your head. So never slide high to low. Here is a clip, is a low turnover, or turnover behind the cage. We're looking at the team in white, and they're all staying goal side. So they're all kind of behind their players. They're trying to match their speed. Some of them have their sticks up. They all should. But they're staying very disciplined, staying on their backside. And then we first force a turnover. Next clip, okay, high turnover, so we're in man-to-man, and this is a perfect example of always getting up above ball and hustling. So we're going to watch the girl kind of trailing with the really dark hair. She runs and gets that check. She was able to get that check because we were all marked up and there was no options for the ball to get past to. And if you saw on the clip as well, she ran, got the check. She wasn't even the one to get the ground ball. Okay, her other teammates were hustling up along with the ball and was able to get that caused turnover. So that was a true team effort. So enough with the man-to-man for right now, so now we're gonna talk about the zone redefend. We're gonna be in a 34 formation, which is 3 on the first line, 4 on the second line. We're going to allow the ball to do whatever it wants below the restraining line, so we're not gonna worry about it, we're gonna allow the ball to come to us. We need to keep in mind that the zones overlap, and you'll see that, I think, in the next slide. And we're working on shifting up and towards the ball. So if you ever played soccer or have coached soccer in the past, it's just kind of like their transition midfield redefend. We're always working on the angles, we're kind of on a string. And then, of course, ultimately, we're taking up space and decreasing the vision. Okay, so my beautiful diagram. The white X's are going to be our low defenders. They're man-to-man for right now, so they're just marking up. And then we have our 77 that's spread out to their zones. So here with beautiful colors, showing their zones, and we're really showing that how much space they are occupying and how they overlap, so you're really helping each other. One thing that I have our girls do is they already know what zone they're in before the game even starts. They kind of naturally, we're creatures of habit, kind of go to the same spots, but we label them. So the back row, we go A, B, C, D. First row, 1, 2, 3. So goalie save, we're yelling B, 2, 3. And if you hear that from somebody else, you know there's something wrong. And so you can kind of fix that problem before you're both standing in the same spot and going, you're not supposed to be here. So that's kind of how we break it down. You could do it any other way you see fit. But I would also suggest my team, like I said, creatures of habit, but have your girls go in different zones all the time. That way they know what other positions are responsible for, so they can kind of know who has to shift, who has their back, when things are happening. So I do suggest, especially at such a young age, of not just being, you're always at B, you're always at 1. Try to really mix it up so they have a better understanding of the zone. I'm going to beat people to a question, hopefully. So say one of these girls, they're man-to-man, and their girl goes into the zone. You could do one of two things. That girl could follow into the zone and still be man-to-man, or we just talk and dump out into the zone. This is not always going to be so perfect, because nothing ever is. So what if you have 3 people in your zone? Then we're going to naturally shift and kind of help that. But you're always kind of keeping this formation. Does that make sense? Hopefully these work. Okay, bear with me. You can kind of see the orange person, different colored person. Okay, that's going to be ball. So there's no other people here, it's just the zone and just the ball. Oh, just kidding. Okay, we see how everybody, the ball goes into a zone and we shift, we're looking for the double, and that top person is kind of shifting up, taking away that vision. Ball's in the middle again, coming up the right side, we're kind of creeping, jumping that double where the zones overlap, and everybody else is kind of shifting up and over. See that movement, how everyone kind of moves together? It's just like soccer. So we're letting the ball do whatever it wants below the restraining line. We're forcing towards the sideline, jumping the double. Everyone's kind of shifting up and over. But you still have, see how we're still shifting, but we're still kind of keeping the field spread out, because we're anticipating that shift of the ball, switching fields. Okay, so if the ball does shift, then we only have to take a couple steps over. First line, oh, I didn't have a mouse. The first line is the restraining line, and then the second line is at the 50.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yes.
So as you're recruiting and you're seeing, I guess, high school players transition into young Harris, I'm sure that you've encountered people who have no clue how to play zone.
Yep.
How do you most effectively, I guess, communicate that to them and then introduce that to them in brief?
Yes. So almost all of my girls coming in have never done a zone in the transition, and even taking over the program, former coach had never introduced it. So it was a lot of exactly what I'm doing here. Here I had to pull the men's soccer or soccer coaches and other people that were on campus, but we will set up and we will move and have everybody shift. So I'm a big fan of walking through it, but something like this could help my team and just going through different scenarios. And we'll get to it in a second, but it's really all about the communication. I think we harp on that everywhere on the field, but it's really just listening to what your teammates are saying. So, say ball's over here, I'm listening to shift right. Okay, I know I'm going with the flow. It's actually easier, I feel like, because especially if you get like 3 or 4 girls that understand it, you do go with the flow because everyone's kind of on a string. So as soon as like one by one they start picking it up, kind of just like follow within their zone, and it's a lot easier. Who does like a zone defense? Okay, and it's just, once again, we'll get into it in a second, but just kind of dropping off and being very disciplined of knowing this is my space, this isn't my girl. Once you kind of get through that mentality, it's a lot easier. But like I said, I came in, not one single player has done this, and this, they love it, they're awesome at it, this is our game. So I think just walking through it and doing exactly, I'm the person in the orange running around like a crazy person. Just once you do that and you're instructing them how to shift, it clicks a lot better than just on paper or pencil. Does that answer your question? Alright, so with communication, what we were just talking about, how we preach about it. Who kind of teaches like a push-pull slide? Perfect. So there's 2 slides, a push and a pull. So if the ball is all the way on the other side of the field, say I'm 3, so I'm all the way at the end. 2, who's in the middle, could say, Sam, let's go, and she's pulling me. So I'm kind of going more into her zone as she shifts towards ball. Same scenario, but say she doesn't see it, I'm saying, Susie Q, go, and I'm pushing her. So I'm kind of coming towards the edge of my zone while pushing her towards the ball or the edge of her zone. So it works both ways with that communication piece that we were just talking about, is really just talking about the push-pull slide and shifting. And we also use that for our low defense as well. Passing players off into the zone. It gets really complicated when you're having players come into your zone on your back. And that really stinks when you have a girl just standing right behind you, but you had no idea she was there because no one told you. Okay? It happens a lot. So it's just kind of talking about, hey, Sam, come into your zone. I know to open up, see where she is, and then play appropriately. And then, of course, where ball is, where is help. There's nothing worse than trying to maintain your zone. Say you have 3 girls in your zone, and ball's running right by you, but you didn't know. So I think this goes with everywhere on the field, but communication is huge in this zone of redefend.
Coach, when you're dropping back like this, are you, like the kids that are in the first line, the 1, 2, 3, are you saying, hey, this is where our attackers should be?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So the first line is typically your attackers, and second line is typically your minis.
And that first line, that's like the 1, 2, 3. Are you having them try to drive them to one side? Like, are those 3 trying to start the double all the time, or?
They're trying to initiate it and then waiting for somebody else to come. I like forcing the ball towards the sidelines. Other coaches may say towards the middle because that's more of your help, but I view the sideline as that's my extra defender. And if I have somebody pinch up against the sideline and I have a good double coming, she can't see anything. And we're forcing her to go out of bounds or to mess up. So first line is kind of to slow the ball down, force to the side, and waiting for that second line to come for the double. Okay? So we're not all fortunate to have teams full of All-Americans, right? Okay, good. Glad we're on the same page. It's not just me. So where do you put your strengths and where do you hide your weaknesses? I think that's a huge problem or issue. So if you're doing the zone, I would put your top players in the back line in the middle. That's because they're kind of your quarterbacks. They're going to be the players that understand the zone the most. They can see everything, they're pushing, they're pulling slides, they're really directing everybody, okay? Your weaker player is gonna be right in front of them. Not because the two strongest are right behind them, but because they have less shifting to do since they're in the middle, and they have the most help since they're in the middle. So if you have like a slower player or somebody who doesn't really understand it as well, but she's out there, that's where I would swap her. Another option, say this, you wanna do the zone that's not really working, just as simple as pushing the zone back. So yes, it's a little further to get into the zone, but it really clumps up that critical scoring area, and then it's less room to recover in case they do break the zone. So something just as simple as shifting it back and really clogging up that space. Because are they gonna score over here? I hope not. You never know. You see some crazy things. Your third option is doing a 1-3-3. So you have 3 in each line, and you're putting pressure on the goalie. You can go either way with this. I have the gray X on goalie, because I would probably put maybe your weaker player, because I see weaker player maybe is not as fast. That's my opinion. But she's kind of putting the pressure on once the ball's out, her job's kind of done, she can trail. Or you can put your strongest player there, your fastest player, because she's gonna give the goalie the most trouble, and she's fast enough to get back and help double. So it's kind of up to you, but this is another option. Any questions about that? Yeah. So your priorities. In any redefend that you do, your first priority is to slow the ball down. Second is to force the other team to make a mistake, and then you get the ball back. You get in a lot of trouble when your first priority is number 3 on this list. Because you're not disciplined, you foul, you overstep, you get a little too ball hungry. I remind our girls of this every single day. When I jump into practice, I remind myself of this every single day. Because you just want to get the ball back, but that's when you don't get the ball back. So it's really making sure that you're disciplined and you do it step by step, and then everything else will come. So recapping the redefend. So we all want to redefend to the opposite restraint line. We don't want to give up. We always want to get above the ball. We still want to help. Never foul. I think that's a pretty obvious one. And remember, the first priority is to slow the ball down. Transitioning into transition, kind of the basics. We're the fastest moving sport, but the ball moves faster than your feet. But that does not mean that your feet ever stop moving. I know that seems pretty like simple and duh, but we all have players guilty of, I don't have the ball, I'm done, game over. Understanding space, timing, and change speed. This is crucial in the redefend and mainly in the transition. Don't be afraid to use trail passes and swinging the ball. It's not always a negative. And then how to get your goalie involved. So using the field, talking about space. Where are your teammates and where are they going? Be aware of your surroundings. It's not just about you as a player. You need to understand where other people are cutting, how they're cutting. Because if you're cutting into open space but somebody else is bringing their defender, are you open anymore? No. Keeping it spread out. Most times for other teams' redefense, they might overload the side of the field, which naturally we kind of go with them. And then you see everybody on one side of the field, and us as coaches go, look around you, look at the field, use weak side. Hate yelling at, but it happens. So make sure you spread out. That's when the trail passes and the swinging passes come into handy, because you get the ball out of trouble, you see the opposite side of the field, walk in the park, cross it over to the opposite restraint line. So another clip kind of balls down low on the opposite side of the field. We receive the ball and immediately look up. No one's perfect, we drop the ball. But we're always looking, we're always cutting to receive the ball, cutting back. No one holds the ball for more than, I think it was like 3 seconds in that clip. So you saw how we receive, turn, that cut was already, did their homework cut, as we like to call it. They cut away, that way when the ball was ready for them, they were already open. They didn't have to work to get open when the ball needed them the most. So, I'm not proud of this clip, but it shows, good movement. So our goalie has the ball right now, team in purple. You see her instructing and kind of telling the girls where to go. And you can just see the purple constantly moving, creating space, replacing. Took us a while to get the ball out, but the girls never stop, which we'll give them kudos for. And then eventually it's out. So talking about levels. So this is going to be our low for attackers. So when we were talking about strengths and weaknesses, where to put them, I would put your stronger attackers down low, your higher attackers up high. Then once we're transitioning, they switch. So you don't want them to already be in the spot that they kind of want to be, because then they're just sitting ducks, right? So we just kind of do a little switcheroo. That way our weaker players or slower players maybe kind of go in, they fill in the space in X, or they're the next level, or stronger players, faster players, better ball handlers can go up, receive the ball from their middies, clear it out, and then turn and continue. So the players that we just talked about are white now, and then this is kind of just the rest of the team scattering, going out for the clear, okay? We like to do cuts back, curl cuts. You heard Coach Eustace kind of talk about curl cuts and cutting back, all of that. But really what we're focusing here is keeping the field balanced and replacing each other. And this is where it comes into like space and being aware of where your teammates are and where you can be useful. So it moves kind of slow, but you see how we're balanced to begin with? And now we're still balanced, but we're kind of moving upfield and replacing each other. So now to our goalies. Who here has a goalie that is like super fast, great under pressure, good ball handler? Okay, 3 or 4? Awesome. So you're going to use your goalies differently than somebody who it's like, you stay in your bubble for your 10 seconds. Okay? We've all been there. So how to use it, how to utilize them. I think goalies are just, you get shots, you save the ball, then you're done. They're a crucial part of the transition, or they can be if you need them to be. So do you want them to trail the ball when it's out? Do you want them to help support that ball? Do you want them coming out of the crease with the ball to handle that pressure? That is 110% up to you guys and what your goalie is capable of. But you also need to educate them where to clear. We tell our goalies, don't clear within the 12 or down the middle to the restraining line. Now that comes with a couple exceptions, of course, but a goalie knows that and our field players know that. Because there's nothing worse than somebody cutting in, yelling, oh, and it's like, no, I'm not allowed to. So everyone's kind of on the same page with that. We know that's like a no man's land, don't cut into them. Also know your teammates' abilities, KYP, know your personnel. Have your goalies know, oh, you can catch the ball over your shoulder, or you're not going to change your speed to come get this ball. Know that look in their eyes of, okay, I'm going to go away, and then cut right to you. And the best way to do that is what? Practice. Okay? I've been part of teams where it's, you just clear it to a trash can, or you just stand out there and clear, which is great for accuracy, but if you don't have a strong goalie that can clear, then that's not really helping them. They need to be moving their feet, they need to hit a moving target, they need to hit somebody with somebody coming hard on their neck. They also need to communicate a lot. I'm guilty of it too as a player. Why isn't she throwing me the ball? That's because you have like 3 girls on your back, that's why. Okay, so have them really get involved with your transition. So the ultimate, how to break the other team's ride with your transition. Okay, I can say the same points for both the man-to-man and the zone, but to be a little more specific, man-to-man, you need fast ball movement, you need change of speed and solid ball control. With the zone, I think the ultimate is to get a quick clear out. Try to get them before you get into the zone. but you really need to move within your space, switch zones, try to catch them not communicating or paying attention coming in the back. The low attackers cutting into the space, like we talked about a little bit before, and swinging the ball quickly, okay? When you're shifting, you tend to kind of turn your back, try to get them, you know, on their heels and take it up the side of the field and walk it in. So transitioning to the end, ball must always be moving, okay? These are points that are kind of obvious. But your feet must always be moving. Don't forget your trail and swinging pass. Spacing and timing can really make or break you. Support, support, support. Don't think, oh, the ball's above me, I can't do anything. That's so not true. And then never forget your goalies. So post-game chat, what did we learn? So this applies to transition and the redefend. Find your teammates' strengths and weaknesses and utilize them. You got what you got, right? It's your job to utilize them. But in between their straight lines are just as important. Remember, it's my favorite part of the game. Support each other, recognize the space, and keep in mind your priorities. And that's all I got for you. Sorry. Any quick questions on that? I know we're like super behind, but it's okay.
I mean, poor Laura, you know.
No.
She'll never go last night.
Never.
Does anybody have any questions?
Take that as a super thorough or 40 to
You
get.
anticipated all the
I'll take it.
answers though.
Yeah.